It's a cold, mist-shrouded morning on May 24, 1941. Off the coast of Iceland, Task Force Commander Günther Lütjens stands on the bridge, gazing into the dark horizon. An officer seasoned by years of command, disciplined, methodical, and reserved, a man of few words, yet one whose presence alone commands respect. But beneath the steel of his composure, a quiet unease stirs, fear for his men, and the heavy weight of what lies ahead. He carries orders to break into the Atlantic and strike at Britain's lifeline, the cargo vessels that keep the island nation alive. For this mission, he commands Europe's most feared warship, the pride of the Kriegsmarine, the Bismarck, flagship of the German Navy, terror of the seas. But her power brings him little comfort. She is mighty, yes, yet the Royal Navy has the numbers. With barely half the force originally planned for this operation, Lütjens feels exposed, the cold weight of vulnerability pressing down on him. A tense silence grips the bridge. The crew knows their hope of slipping into the Atlantic unseen has vanished after 2 brief encounters with British ships. Now, the hydrophones whisper a grim warning. Heavy ships nearby. It's no longer a question of if they'll be found, but when. Lütjens scans the fog-draped horizon through his binoculars when the signal officer's voice cuts through the quiet. Smoke trails spotted on the horizon, sir. Lütjens lowers the glasses. The dreaded moment has come. Sound battle stations. Sirens blare through both vessels. Men rush to their posts as 2 silhouettes emerge from the mist, HMS Prince of Wales and the legendary HMS Hood. The range, 26 kilometers, and closing fast. Then, sudden light. The first muzzle flashes. Enemy guns roar, and giant columns of water erupt ahead of the Prinz Eugen as shells crash into the sea just short of their mark. Captain Ernst Lindemann turns to Lütjens. Permission to open fire, no answer. Lütjens stands still, calculating. He knows the Bismarck is fast, and engaging the Royal Navy here could be suicide. Perhaps he can still outrun them. More shells explode nearby. Permission to open fire? Lindemann repeats, voice rising. The enemy closes in. There will be no escape. Lütjens exhales. Open fire! The ship shudders as her massive 15-inch guns unleash a thunderous barrage, sending glowing steel across the sky, shrieking toward the Hood. The shells crash into the sea, short of their target. The battle has begun. The flagship of the Kriegsmarine, and the pride of the Royal Navy now trade, blows across the grey northern sea. Shells scream through the fog, thunder rolling between each salvo. A direct hit. The Prinz Eugen's shells find their mark on the HMS Hood, igniting a blaze along her deck. For a moment, orange fire cuts through the mist, but the crew responds swiftly, and the flames are contained. A massive bang reverberates through the Bismarck. We've been hit, an officer reports. Lütjens doesn't react. Bismarck fires its 5th salvo, and it strikes the Hood. A fateful shot to send shockwaves throughout the British Empire. A column of fire lights up the night sky, rising from the deck like a blowtorch before a catastrophic explosion tears the ship in half. In a final act of defiance, a single shot is fired from the doomed ship before it sinks under the waves. Relief washes over the Bismarck crew, some allowing themselves a brief cheer as the battle turns in their favour. Lütjens, however, is unmoved, and in his characteristic cold demeanour he orders to immediately focus fire on the Prince of Wales. The turrets swing to the new target, and they fire, ending 8 1760-pound shells, streaking across the sky towards the remaining enemy. Lookouts report multiple hits on target as the fight progresses, but the HMS Prince of Wales soldiers on. The Bismarck is struck 2 more times herself until the Prince of Wales finally retreats from the battle. Let's chase them down, suggests Lindemann, sticking to his orders of engaging the Royal Navy as little as possible. He orders to continue on instead. Bismarck has suffered damage on the float plane crane, torpedo bulkhead, and on the forecastle. She begins to flood and oil leaks into the ocean. As the damage reports come in, Lütjens learns repairs are badly needed. Despite this, he refuses to slow the ship to get them done, as he knows at least 2 heavy cruisers are shadowing him. They need to get some distance first. What is clear is that Bismarck is too wounded to continue the mission. They need to get back to port. Prinz Eugen is undamaged, so Lütjens decides the Prinz Eugen will detach from the Bismarck and continue the mission alone while Bismarck heads to Saint-Nazaire for repairs. With some breathing room, Lütjens sends a report to the OKM. The Naval High Command, battle cruiser, probably Hood, sunk. Another battleship, King George V or Renown, turned away damaged. 2 heavy cruisers maintain contact. Meanwhile, far above, a British Sunderland flying boat follows Bismarck's oil streak until spotting the ship. They report her position and the British gather all available warships to hunt her down. With the weather worsening, Lütjens decides it's a good moment to detach Prince Eugen. The 2 ships part ways. Seeing each other for the last time, the darkness falls upon the Atlantic when an officer alerts Lütjens. Lookouts report incoming planes, Admiral. Lütjens orders the men to battle stations and the secondary guns to be turned to maximum depression on the direction of the planes. Alarms sound in Bismarck. The sky is lit up with anti-aircraft. Fire as the swordfish torpedo bombers line up their passes. Lütjens orders to fire the secondary guns into the sea in front of the path of the planes. The splash of the shells creates pillars of water they must evade. But it's of no use. The torpedoes are away, and the planes successfully escape. Not a single one shot down. Lindemann orders evasive maneuvers, but despite them, just one of the 9 torpedoes impacts the armor belt. It does little damage, but the abrupt direction change and maneuvers loosen the collision mats covering the hole from the previous battle. Bismarck starts to flood one more time and is forced to slow down to fix the repair, giving the British much-needed time. The Bismarck is given some luck as the British lose track of her while trying to avoid German submarines. Lütjens, meanwhile, continues to send reports back to shore. Believing he is being shadowed, he sees no point in maintaining radio silence. Unbeknownst to him, the messages are being used by the British to continue the chase even beyond the radar range, but they make yet another mistake, and the closest pursuers sail the wrong way. Time was running out, though, for the Germans, and in the morning of May 26th, a Catalina finds the battleship. That night, another swordfish raid swoops upon the Bismarck. Alarms blare one more time, and the crew repeat the strategy of the morning. Anti-air fire lights up the night sky as the torpedo bombers approach. The seemingly obsolete swordfish are flying so low and slow. Bismarck's fire control predictors, built for newer planes, have a hard time giving accurate predictions, and heavy AA guns struggle tracking them. Even when struck, the German flak shells tear harmlessly through the old biplanes, the so-called string bags. Columns of water erupt around them as the secondary guns fire relentlessly, ingenious in concept, but little more than an irritation to the attackers. The swordfish close in, bombs fall, and then the torpedoes are away. Lindemann shouts for evasive maneuvers, but it's too late. The first torpedo slams amidships, a shudder, but only minor damage. The second finds its mark with brutal precision, detonating at the stern. The rudder is hit, jammed hard. The swordfish bank and vanish into the grey sky, leaving the Bismarck alive, but crippled. Damaged crews race to the stern. They manage to free one of the twin rudders, but despite their desperate work, it's not enough. An hour later, Lütjens radios headquarters, ship unmaneuverable. The great battleship drifts helplessly in the Atlantic swells, her course now a slow, endless circle, a wounded Titan, still defiant, but doomed to dance in place. The mood aboard the Bismarck darkens as the crew begins to grasp their fate. At 1 a.m. on May 27th, Lütjens sends his final transmission: "We will fight to the last, believing in you, my Führer, and with rock-hard faith in Germany's victory." Throughout the night, enemy destroyers circle and harass the ship. But the true reckoning comes with dawn. HMS Rodney and HMS King George V appear on the horizon. The alarm sounds once more. Men rush to their battle stations, weary but resolute. Muzzle flashes light up the morning as Rodney opens fire, shells crashing into the sea just short of the Bismarck. Lütjens orders to return fire. The Bismarck answers, but her jammed rudder makes it nearly impossible to aim. Shells creep closer, then a thunderous blast. A direct hit on the forward superstructure. The bridge is obliterated. The entire command staff is killed instantly. Still, the crew fights on. Junior officers take command, but the ship lists and burns, her guns silenced one by one under relentless fire. By 9:30 a.m, the Bismarck fires her last shot. The British ships close in, unopposed, their guns roaring until the once mighty battleship is little more than a blazing hulk. At 10 a.m, the Chief of Damage Control gives the final order: scuttle the ship and abandon her. 20 minutes later, explosions rip through the hull. The Bismarck, pride of the Kriegsmarine, slips beneath the waves, taking with her over 2,000 souls. Only 114 men are pulled from the sea alive. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep more incredible moments in history alive.